All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are cracking open a playbook for total market domination that's more than 100 years old, and you're going to see how it's being used to completely reshape industries as we speak.
So, let me just start by asking you a question. Imagine a company comes along and offers you everything you could want. We're talking internet, calls, the whole nine yards, for absolutely free. Do you think that's a gift, or is it the first move in a much bigger, much more dangerous game? To figure that out, let's start with a modern-day story. It's the story of a company that walked into one of the world's biggest markets and turned it completely upside down.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 2016. You're in India. Getting online is a pretty pricey affair, and every single phone call is eating into your balance. The telecom industry is pretty set in its ways, and prices are high. But then, a brand new player, a company called Jio, shows up and makes a move that changes everything. Now, Jio didn't just come in with a small discount. Nope, they offered the whole shebang for free. We're talking free SIM cards, free unlimited data, and free calls to literally anyone in the country. It was an offer that was so good, it almost sounded fake. And the reaction? It was an absolute explosion. From the smallest villages to the biggest cities, everybody wanted in on this deal. In just 6 months, Jio signed up over 100 million subscribers. It was, without a doubt, one of the fastest land grabs for customers in history. But here's the thing you gotta understand. This incredible act of giving everything away for free, it wasn't about being nice. Not even close. It was a cold, calculated strategy. It was the opening move in a high-stakes game for total control of the market. And this strategy, it has a name. It's called predatory pricing. And the logic behind it is simple and honestly pretty brutal. You offer your stuff for so cheap, or in this case for free, that your competitors just can't keep up. You essentially bleed them out. And that is exactly what happened. The dominoes started to fall, and they fell fast. The big dogs like Airtel and Vodafone were forced to just chop their own prices to pieces to have any chance of competing. And just like that, their profits vanished into thin air. The pressure got so bad that 2 major companies actually had to merge just to survive, while all the smaller guys, well, they were just wiped right off the map. So with its competition either on its knees or gone completely, Jio had pretty much conquered the entire Indian telecom market. What started with a free gift ended with total domination. But here's where the story gets really wild. This incredibly powerful modern strategy, it isn't modern at all. In fact, the very same game was played over a century ago. Let's hop in a time machine. We're going back to the late 1800s in America. The oil industry is booming, but it's messy, full of all these small, scrappy companies fighting for a piece of the pie. And into this chaos walks a man who would basically write the book on monopoly, John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller perfected this ruthless 4-step plan. First, he'd pick a town or a region where his competitors were doing well. Step 2, he'd flood that market with his standard oil product at a price so ridiculously low, he was actually losing money on every barrel. His rivals couldn't compete with that, and eventually, they'd go broke. And then, the final move? He'd swoop in and buy their failed companies for pennies on the dollar. Okay, so you have a 21st century tech company in India and a 19th century oil tycoon in America. Are you starting to see the connection? Let's put their strategies side by side, because the parallel is just shocking. I mean, just look at this. It's practically a mirror image. Rockefeller sells oil for less than it costs him, wipes out the competition, and ends up with 90% of the entire market. Jio gives data away for free, captures the market, and becomes the new king. Different product, different century, but it's the exact same playbook. You see, it was never really about giving you a good deal. It was always a 2-step plan. Step 1, pull in a massive number of users with an offer they just can't refuse. And then, step 2, use that huge user base to take complete control of the market. And this leads us to the final, crucial piece of the puzzle. The ultimate move in this game, the one that completely changes the relationship between the company and you.
There is a powerful, unwritten rule when it comes to this kind of business strategy, and it's this. If you want to win the market, first you have to make people addicted to your product. You get them so used to it, so dependent on it, that they can't even imagine their life without it. Because once they're hooked, the entire power dynamic flips. The company isn't chasing you anymore. You are now locked into their world. And at that point, the game is entirely 100% in the company's hands.
So, let's bring it all together. What does this century-old playbook mean for all of us today, living in a world that is just full of free apps, free services, and free trials?
The next time you get offered something amazing for free, just pause for a second and ask yourself this one simple question. In this deal, am I the customer they're trying to please, or am I the product they're trying to capture? The answer? Well, it might just change the way you see everything.